Well, in breaking news, Chief Judge Judge Boasberg has outfoxed Donald Trump, the Department of Justice, and even Fox News in a new order he's just issued requiring that all of those signal messages used by the Director of National Intelligence, CIA Director, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, and everybody else about the secret war plans that were no longer secret because they added the reporter from the Atlantic onto it, all have to be preserved. And the Trump administration has to tell the judge on Monday how they are working to preserve the entire 2 weeks worth of signal chats in response to a new lawsuit brought by American Oversight, a public interest group that tries to promote transparency in the government. Was there a Federal Records Act violation or wasn't there? The outfoxing part, I'll tell you next on Legal AF. Judge Boasberg was asked to issue a temporary injunction among the 70 temporary injunctions been issued against the Trump administration. And he found a way not to have to do that. He had the Trump administration agree, this is the outfoxing part, agree to collect all of the data, preserve all of the data to the extent it already hasn't been deleted. We know the problem with Signal and the focus of the lawsuit is the auto delete function. That's why people use Signal, so that it disappears. Remember Snapchat? I never used it, but I knew the concept. Oh, the message just disappeared. Yeah, this message just disappeared. Not such a great thing when you have a records custodian, records management retention requirement under federal law for all communications about the people's business. Those are my messages that you're deleting, not yours. And so the judge made them commit, the Trump administration, to preserving. Now, they had to fall on their sword in the hearing and the filings they made before the hearing, the Trump administration, and they had to say, we don't need an injunction because we're in the process of getting to the bottom of it. Does everybody feel more secure now knowing that the Department of Justice under Pam Bondi is getting to the bottom of the leak after the fact? This is the same Department of Justice head, really a political hack, who frequently goes on Fox News. In fact, she went on it last night to bash the judge, and she declared in response to a question and answer during a press conference the other day that she's not going to open up an investigation about whether an Espionage Act or other criminal laws have been violated because she doesn't think it's that interesting. What she thinks is interesting is Hillary Clinton's emails. I'm going to play those clips in 1 minute. So the Justice Department says, we're on it, like Inspector Clouseau. We're on it. We'll collect all those documents. We've already gotten them from the Treasury Department. I'm not worried about the Treasury Department. I'm worried about Pete Hegseth and whether he was impaired at the time he participated in the Signal chat and now can't remember that he leaked target packages and other war plans about the attack on the Houthis. That's what I'm worried about. And they said, well, we've asked the Department of Defense, but we haven't gotten a response yet. Yeah, because they're scrambling. So the pressure campaign that you're watching, this is what's inside the courtroom with the hearing yesterday. What's outside the courtroom is bashing, and trying to distract. Donald Trump went from, they did what? To, it was a glitch, to Mike Waltz learned a lesson, to what's the big deal? The military operation was a success. Well, that's not how other Republicans see it. In fact, Senate Armed Services Committee, there's a number of worlds that are going on here at the same time. Senate Armed Services Committee and Intelligence Committees led by bipartisan people like Senator Reid and others are opening investigations into what happened here, why Signal was used, how it was used, what was leaked and compromised. Look, there's already reporting that I'm going to be doing that that pilots, current and former pilots, are slapping their forehead like you're going to, and saying about the administration, you're going to get somebody killed. Because they're the ones flying these missions. This is going to leak out, but while we're up in the air, this information, and you're going to get us killed. The Israelis, who gave them the information they needed for these target packages, they're upset because their intelligence was compromised. So between American pilots and the Israeli intelligence gathering, nobody's happy. And you know what they say in the old country song, when mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. So everybody trying to downplay this, like the press secretary, why are we focused on this? It wasn't confidential. It is confidential. It is top secret. And the judge is going to get to the bottom of it. Now, what I liked about, let me play you actually first, the clip of Pam Bondi. We'll do back-to-back Bondi. Bondi being asked a question. She didn't look like she was prepared to answer. but had a ready political hack moment to show you why she's failed the test of being a leader here for America. She says, why are we talking? I'm not going to open up an investigation. What about Hillary Clinton? What about Hillary Clinton? What about Joe Biden's boxes? There was a special investigation opened. What about Hunter Biden? He was indicted and prosecuted and convicted. I really don't understand how these are apples to bowling balls that she's comparing. And then before the hearing, which is their MO, she goes on Ingraham on Fox, this is the outfoxing part, starts bashing the judge by name. You could say a lot of things about Merrick Garland, the former attorney general. Did you ever see him on television? Did you ever see him give an interview in real time during cases? You only saw him at those press conferences when they issued indictments, But no, we're going to see Pam Bondi miss Fox News along with Ice Barbie, Kristi Noem every day, every way. I'm already sick of this administration. Let's roll the 2 clips.
In terms of the signals chat controversy that's going on, is DOJ involved at this point? If so, why? If not, why not?
Well, first, it was sensitive information, not classified, and inadvertently released. And what we should be talking about is it was a very successful mission. Our world is now safer because of that mission. We're not going to comment any further on that. If you want to talk about classified information, talk about what was at Hillary Clinton's home that she was trying to bleach bit, talk about the classified documents in Joe Biden's garage that Hunter Biden had access to. This was not classified information. And we are very pleased with the results of that operation and that the entire world is safer because of it. Thank you all very much.
Is he being returned to El Salvador?
Judge Beryl Howell is an Obama-appointee district judge, I believe in the District of D.C., District of Columbia, and is extremely upset at what he thinks is a series of attacks by the DOJ on the judiciary, saying when the DOJ engages in this rhetorical strategy of ad hominem attack, the stakes become much larger than only the reputation of the targeted federal judge. This strategy is designed to impugn the integrity of the federal judicial system. I guess the DOJ lawyers wanted to remove Judge Howell from the case, citing other what they believed were biased comments. Your reaction to Judge Howell tonight?
We do. Many judges need to be removed. Judge Howell included, Judge Reyes, Judge Boasberg. These judges obviously cannot be impartial. They cannot be objective. They are district judges trying to control our entire country, and they're trying to obstruct Donald Trump's agenda.
And Judge Boasberg is a busy judge. He was assigned to the Signal Gate, which is such a ridiculous name, but the Signal Chat case, which is a lawsuit filed by parties, which I'm not sure they have standing to file, but President Trump calls it disgraceful that this judge, again, who's ruled against you on the Tren de Aragua deportations, is now assigned to the Signal case.
Yes.
Your reaction tonight to that?
Laura, he has multiple cases. I guess it's a wild coincidence against Donald Trump and our administration. And now he has the Signal case. He shouldn't be on any of these cases. He cannot be objective. He's made that crystal clear. These judges are taking personal attacks, too, at many of the cabinet secretaries and these judges across the country. And again, they think they have authority, but it's going to be short-lived because these cases are going to get to the Supreme Court very fast.
Okay. We'll continue to follow it Monday when the declaration is filed by the court, by the Trump administration. And if the judge doesn't like it, he's pulling everybody back. Well, then he's going to look at the merits of the case about whether there's been a Federal Records Act violation. This was a very crafty way for the judge, by the way, because I don't think there was the grounds for an injunction, because I think one aspect was missing, irreparable harm, which is one of the elements. It's actually the major element, the sine qua non of a injunction hearing. But he outfoxed the Trump administration. He got them to agree to an injunction, even though I don't think there were grounds to do it. They could have said, go pound sand. We're not doing that. You don't have the power to do it. And they're probably right, but he got them to do it. That's good. Now he can look at whether there's a Federal Records Act violation and what's the penalty for that. And he'll do that in his own time. There's also 2 moments of levity provided by the judge. Only Democrats really can have a sense of humor at this moment. One, he started the hearing with, let me tell you how I got here. Because he's handling the other Alien Enemies Act case, right? Where he's blocked the Trump administration. And so far it's been affirmed through one level of appeal. And the Supreme Court doesn't seem that interested in it, because even though there was an attempt to try to get it to the Supreme Court, they're staying out of it. So there is an affirmed decision by Boasberg that Donald Trump improperly and unconstitutionally exercised the Alien Enemies Act to deport people in the middle of the night to El Salvador, who were Venezuelans, without due process. You know, that little sticky thing that we like in America, where you get to be brought before a judge and have a lawyer before you're put in a cargo hold and sent to Arkin prison in El Salvador, where more people, 300 people died last year in those prisons. Okay, so he gets randomly assigned to this case about Signalgate, about the breach brigade. He starts the hearing with, I know people will question how I got this case. But let me assure you, there's 24 judges. There's an electronic wheel that spins. We each have a card. My name came up. We're here. Even though you heard Bondi say in her interview with Laura Ingraham, isn't it ironic that it's the same judge? Not really. It happens. How many times did the wheels spin and it land on Eileen Cannon? More than once with cases. The shooter case, the guy that tried to take out Donald Trump in the bush, spending all day at the golf course, that was assigned to Eileen Cannon, as was his Mar-a-Lago case. It happens. Now, the second moment of levity is when the judge sort of needled the Department of Justice lawyer, because in the Alien Enemies Act case, they're taking the position in their filings that his orders are only effective when they're in writing, which is not true. Federal judges and other judges can declare things out loud that become rulings of the court from the bench. He said, on this order about retaining the documents, he said, don't worry, I'll put it in writing. I love that he still has a sense of humor, despite the attack. So what's the blueprint here we're watching? Donald Trump loses again in the courtroom. Outside the courtroom, on cue, the Department of Justice head, Pam Bondi, who's a puppet, and Donald Trump himself bashed the judge. I'll show you now the bashing of the judge by Donald Trump. And there you go. And but they're not getting a lot of traction in Congress, because there are senators, Republican and Democrat, who are concerned on the Senate Armed Services Committee about what happened. And they're empowering inspector generals there to go after this issue and report back to Congress. I mean, when we're left with just Congress having to be a firewall here, we're in trouble. I'll continue to follow it all right here on Legal AF. Until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.